It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane, turn pressure into purpose, paint it again. With grit and grace, I'm free to be all I am, becoming steadily.
If you are listening while doing something else, I want you to pause for a moment. Because what I'm about to describe is so common that we barely notice it anymore, and yet it is quietly draining profit, energy, and joy out of businesses and households everywhere. It sounds like this: I'm just flat out. I'll look at it later. I'll catch up on the weekend. I'll breathe when the week is over. I can't slow down. Everything will fall apart. That's not a workload. That's a lifestyle. And for many people, it becomes an identity. The person who is always behind, always rushing, and always reacting. In Alice in Wonderland, the white rabbit isn't just late. He is living in a permanent state of urgency, and that urgency has a cost. Today's episode is not about working hard. It's about what happens when urgency becomes the way you lead, the way you decide, and the way you measure your worth.
Side I run this race.
Welcome to Grit and Grace, where we talk business mindset, well-being, leadership, and the standards that make success sustainable. I'm Donagh, and this is episode 2 of our Alice in Wonderland series. Episode 1 was Down the Rabbit Hole, what to do when the map changes and you need to stabilise first. Today we're focusing on the white rabbit, the symbol of urgency culture. We'll cover the white rabbit traits that show up in real life and business, why busy can be a form of avoidance, how urgency spreads into your team, your clients, and your household, and how to replace frantic with focused with a simple weekly rhythm. At the end, you'll have one action to take this week and one reflection prompt. Let's go. The white rabbit is gripping time like it's oxygen. He is panicked about being late, but he never slows down long enough to ask a better question. Like, what actually matters? What's the consequence if I don't do this right now? Why am I always behind? Is this the best use of my energy? So let's call out the white rabbit traits, because once you can name them, you can change them. He's always almost caught up. He's always one task away from relief, but the relief never arrives. He confuses movement with progress. He is busy, but he's not necessarily effective. He is led by fear of disapproval. Being late means being in trouble, so he runs, even if running creates more mistakes. He lives in reaction and not intention. He's responding to what is urgent, loud, and immediate, not what is important, profitable, or aligned. He never builds the system that would save him. There's no rhythm, no buffer, no process, no review. It's just adrenaline. If any of those traits landed for you, stay with me, because this episode is about turning that pattern into something you can actually lead. The tricky thing about urgency is it often looks like dedication. If you are always responding quickly, always saying yes, always available, it can feel like good service or a strong work ethic or reliability, being the one people can depend on. But the pivot point is this: the moment it crosses into white rabbit territory, when you don't have a business anymore, but you have a fire station and you're the firefighter on call, living in adrenaline, waiting for the next emergency. Some people don't want to admit it, but there can be a hidden payoff in that. It makes you feel needed, it makes you feel important, it distracts you from uncertain decisions, and it keeps you from confronting what's not working. And then, very quietly, it becomes proof of value. If I'm busy, I'm doing well. If I'm exhausted, I must be succeeding. But exhaustion is not a business model, and frantic is not a strategy. Urgency rarely starts as a personality flaw. It usually starts as a system flaw and then becomes a habit. Pricing and margin problems. If you are constantly working but never quite feeling ahead financially, you may be underpricing, absorbing scope creep, or misjudging time and materials. The white rabbit behavior in business looks like taking anything that comes in, rushing quotes, doing extras for free, avoiding price increases because you're worried people will say no, telling yourself you'll fix pricing once things calm down. But things won't calm down until the model supports you. If your invoicing happens when you get around to it, data follow-up is awkward, and you only look at numbers when you have to, cash flow becomes unpredictable, and unpredictable cash flow creates urgency. And this is where the white rabbit behavior looks like leaving an invoice for too long, hoping people pay and avoiding the follow-up, being shocked by bills that you knew were always coming anyway. So when your boundaries are too porous, white rabbit leaders are often generous, helpful, and service-driven. But without boundaries, service turns into self-sacrifice. And it looks like answering messages at night time, just squeezing people in, letting clients set the pace, or letting other people's lack of planning become your emergency. We also avoid having hard conversations or making decisions, and sometimes urgency is a smokescreen. A full calendar is a convenient excuse not to face a team member who isn't performing, a client who is disrespectful, maybe a product line that isn't profitable, or the fact that you need to delegate, the fact you need to change how you do things. And busy keeps you from feeling the discomfort of changing the business. But the cost is you keep paying for it in fatigue. Urgency isn't private, it leaks. It leaks into your team. So if you have staff, your pace becomes their pace. And a white rabbit workplace can look like something with constant interruptions and rushed instructions, unclear priorities, last minute changes, everything is urgent. People making errors because they're trying to keep up, good staff quietly burning out or switching off, and it creates a culture where people react rather than think. Your clients can feel it too. Rushed businesses often deliver inconsistent communication, late follow-up, variable quality, a sense that everything is slightly chaotic. Even if you are brilliant at what you do, urgency erodes the experience. It also translates into your home and your body. And this is the part that matters the most. White rabbit living keeps your nervous system activated. You're physically present, but mentally you are elsewhere. You're always about to relax, but you're never actually resting. And over time, you can become short-tempered, flat, numb. Not because you don't care, but because your system is just so overloaded. You cannot mindset your way out of urgency. You need a rhythm. Urgency thrives in businesses without predictable review points, and rhythm creates the calm because you know when things are handled. So here's a nice simple structure that works across trade, services, rural, retail. Just keep it light, keep it consistent. Have that weekly money meeting, and we've spoken about this so many times. Same day, same time. It's a not negotiable. And the agenda is having a look at what cash you have in the bank, the money that's due in and due out over the next 7 to 14 days. People who owe you money, who do you need to follow up? What are your upcoming obligations? GST, wages, suppliers, superannuation, pay as you go. One financial decision or action for the week. And this reduces surprise, and surprise is what triggers the white rabbit mode. So 3 questions. What are your top 3 priorities this week? What could derail them? And who owns what? If you're solo, you still do this. You're still leading a business. So there should be a protected administration block, 60 to 90 minutes. Invoicing, ordering, schedule, follow-ups. Admin is either scheduled or it becomes a constant low-level stress hum. There should be a 1 block of 2 hours of deep work, and this is where you stop running the business and start improving it. And it might be that you need to document a process, review a price, train a staff member, build a quoting template, improve stock ordering systems, fix a recurring customer issue, work on some automations. Deep work is where the urgency starts to die. Now, white rabbit businesses have no buffers, and then they act shocked when the reality hits. Reality always happens. But there is a simple rule. Stop scheduling to 100% capacity. Your systems need breathing space. Let's do something that we can do immediately. If you feel frantic right now, just try this quick reset. Name the real problem. One sentence, not the story, the problem. So it could be, I'm behind on invoicing. Not the reason you're behind on invoicing, but I'm just behind. I've said yes to too many low margin jobs. I'm avoiding following up overdue accounts. I don't have a clear weekly plan. Now, step 2, choose the next right task, not the urgent task, the task that reduces pressure the most. And it may be getting that invoicing done. It could be the data follow-ups. It could be making sure your quotes are done properly. It could be updating your schedule. It could be going through and blocking out time in your calendar. It could also be having one hard conversation, whether it's with yourself, your family, your employees, or your clients. Now put a container around it. Time box it. 25 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour. Not I'll do it later. A specific block and book it in. The white rabbit mode tells you there's no time. Leadership creates time by choosing. So, your action for this week. Choose 3 priorities for this week and put them in your calendar first. Not your to-do list, your calendar. Then I want you to pick one boundary to protect them, such as no meetings before 10 a.m. on 2 days a week. Email and messages are checked at set times during the day. Quoting is done only in a specific block. Admin is done in one scheduled window, not between everything else. If it isn't scheduled, it isn't real. If it isn't documented, it didn't happen. So what am I calling urgent that is actually just loud? If I slowed down, what would I be forced to face? And this is not a criticism, it's a clue to what's going on around us. The white rabbit isn't a villain, he's just a warning that you can be committed, capable, and hardworking and still build a life that never lets you breathe. Rushing does not create stability. Rhythm creates stability. Clarity creates stability. You can be responsive without being frantic. You can run a business with standards without living on adrenaline. Until next time, keep your grit and protect your grace.
In the quiet, before the daylight breaks, I'm drawing lines for my own sake. I've carried more than I let on show, still found a way to learn and grow. With steady hands I set the pace, a fierce heart held in gentle space. I won't trade my peace for proof, I won't build a life without a roof. I'll rise, I'll rest, I'll recalibrate, strong enough to do, wise enough to wait. It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane, turn pressure into purpose, pain into gain. With grit and grace, I'm free to be all I am, becoming steadily. I won't shrink back to make it easy, I won't stay small to keep things tidy. I'll speak the truth, I'll name my worth, put roots down deep and do the work. And when it's heavy, I won't very true. A steady rhythm pulling me through. When doubt is loud, I'll still begin. Again and again, I'll choose to win. Not by force, not by fear, by showing up year after year. It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane. Turn pressure into purpose, pain